Welcome to the Two Act Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adi, and today we're going to be talking about Mars Express. Mars Express is a story set in the 23rd century about a private detective, Aline Ruby, and her android partner, Carlos Rivera, who are hired by a wealthy businessman to track down a notorious hacker. On Mars, they descend deep into the underbelly of the planet's capital city, where they uncover a dark story of brain farms, corruption, and a missing girl who holds a secret about the robots that threatens to change the face of the universe. In this episode, I'm joined by my other co-host, Jon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm Jon. Pretty good. I was wondering when you were going to introduce me.
I was going to segue into you.
Okay,
after
cool.
the plot.
All right.
Don't think I forgot about you.
Okay. I was like, am I just listening to a podcast?
No. I was always going to segue into you, but really excited to talk about this French animated feature film directed by and co-written by Jeremy Perrin, who is a animator and visual artist, film director from France. This film is distributed by G-Kids, a popular distributor of stop-motion animation in the US, and it premiered in the Cannes Film Festival in 2023, where it received a lot of recognition, but I feel like the marketing of this film has pretty much been non-existent. It's only been now a year later where this film has really hit any sources of like digital media to stream in. And I guess we can start with opening thoughts. What did you think about this film?
All right. So I'm just going to go right off the bat. This is a spoiler discussion for Mars Express. If you don't want to be spoiled, you should probably watch it. So my first thoughts of this movie, it is in French. You have subtitles. Cool. That's not a big deal. It has a lot of like themes and like cyberpunk, a lot of like AI and like eventual questions involving sentience of AI and like the Turing test, like a lot of tropes that you typically see in cyberpunk. Yeah, I like that the movie introduces like the robots living with the personalities of the deceased via duplicates. Like this trope's been done before, like an Altered Carbon, where you have like it's like the memory decks or something like in their neck. And I really enjoy like the creativity of like how they did like the heads of the people, and how he's like there but not really there because he died a long time ago.
Yeah, you're talking about Carlos, who's the android partner of Aline, who's obviously the protagonist. And yeah, like you said, Carlos is a character who was a human who was dead 5 years ago. And then somehow in this world, they managed to upload his consciousness into a backup, which is an android body, and his face is basically a hologram of his human face, which is an interesting concept. I've never seen that before, but yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to add on that?
I'll dig into it later.
All right. So you appreciated the sort of the creative element of what they presented in the genre. I do want to agree with you, and I want to say that this is this is a classic. There's things in this we've seen before in numerous previous properties, like obviously Blade Runner, because Blade Runner just is the seminal genre piece in cyberpunk and sci-fi futurism. And obviously Ghost in the Shell, it's kind of got that whole philosophy of, like you said, sentience of robots and AI. But
Right.
yeah, I agree with
like
you. I think
robot
it's
rights.
robot rights, and it's a story told through familiar territory in the cyberpunk genre, which is very neo-noir driven, and I quite like. I've always liked detective stories, and this is sort of a murder mystery heavy on subtext, and I think that's what I appreciated a lot. Without trying to really spoon feed the audience, I do think this is a film which, by the way, has ambitious ideas because it's trying to present a very densely layered world with loads of ideas. The whole idea of cloning humans, the idea of robot rights, and this whole AI protest against robots that humans have. And then you've got humans who are somewhat trying to fight for the rights of robots and consciousness. So there's a lot of modern ideas here, which I think it ambitiously tries to push through in a very limited runtime. This film is only, I believe, 90 minutes. Yeah, so they haven't got a lot to really explore, but I was quite impressed by how much of an ambitious attempt it was to tell a packed story in such a short runtime. Because quite usually the case is, there's not enough to put in there to warrant the runtime, or there's so much where things just get lost in the amount of information that we're fed in. But I felt like the pacing of this was so consistent that I really enjoyed how the action and the subtext and the script really worked. Although I must admit that at times it could be hard and convoluted to follow what's going on. I guess that was one of my issues with the murder mystery. But I guess let's start with the opening scene. So the story really starts with an apartment of a student where a man who's the police of Noctis, the city set in Mars, where modern civilization exists, comes in and basically murders this girl in the apartment, murders the cat, and turns out there's another girl hiding in the bathtub. She manages to survive, and she is Juncho, the student who is basically hunted for information. And that leads us into Aline Ruby and Carlos Rivera, who are the two private investigators who are basically employed to find this hacker who has information regarding something very important for this very wealthy businessman called Roy Chacker. What did you think of that whole setup?
I liked the opening. It definitely made you think, okay, so what exactly is going on here? And I love the robot cat. The robot cat was adorable.
Yeah. The skin was a bit freaky.
And then you got blue blood going all over the place. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, they are like robots. I'm not exactly sure. And I'm like trying to like piece what's all going through here. And I'm just reading French. And I'm just like, And then they introduced more characters. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm along for the ride. Let's see where this is going. Yeah, I agree with the pacing. Like it definitely doesn't make me want to look at my phone. That's for sure.
I really like the world building in this film. The fact that it starts in Earth and it shows how Earth is it's become a lot worse, a place to live, and how they're like basically trying to find this hacker who is writing a code that will essentially jailbreak robots and give them agency, give them freedom to, not be programmed by humans anymore. And then we're led to this world in Mars, which is like I would say maybe a very futuristic rendition of Los Angeles, but it's a city called Noctis set in Mars, and that's where the rest of the plot takes place. And I really appreciated how the animation looked incredible. It reminded me a lot of Satoshi Kon's work, particularly Paprika at certain times, but it was also very minimalistic at times, and it had a very pop feel to it. Like the characters and the color were very vibrant through loads of set pieces. But I like the animation, and I guess we can talk about how that sort of influences the plot. It basically it isn't afraid to really explain things. I felt like it assumes that the viewer will take the initiative to pick up on the information that it presents through its presentation. Did you feel lost at times with the plot?
A little bit, but like you, I also like the animation. It's not very often that animation studios that aren't based in Japan have pretty well done animation. I felt it was very sci-fi. It really felt like Blade Runner or one of these other sci-fi universes where you're trying to extrapolate all the like differences in their reality. Like I said before, I really enjoyed how the heads on the duplicates, how they're animated and how things like went through them, and like how like they worked. I really enjoyed that. I was a little confused exactly where this was going. I definitely didn't call the ending like ever. I was just like, all right, where is this going? Are we gonna have some big like confrontation at the end where I'm like trying to piece exactly what's going on, and then they got people doing like hacker stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I don't really care about the hacker stuff because it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, like I really felt like the characters could have been more fleshed out. Like they were to an extent, but since we're in 90 minutes, we only have so much time. I feel like we spent a lot of time learning like the setting and a lot less to do with the characters, and I feel like that hurt it for me. Like you have Carlos's his like past with like his wife. Like I don't really care about that. He's a robot. And then like Adeline's like her substance abuse with like alcohol, like sure, you're a flawed character, fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like this is something which is so potent because the world building is so great, and there's so much emphasis on really making you believe that this is how society is in this world. Maybe perhaps the characterization takes a bit of a backseat, and if it say had the span of like 13 episodes to 20 episodes, it could perhaps flesh out its story more. And I do agree where you don't really know much about Carlos as what he was as a human. You're just told that he was basically dead 5 years ago, and he's managed to back himself up. But I did feel like, for me, he was the strongest character in the film, more than Aline. Aline is obviously very close in lines with a classic detective. Like she's got the tropes, like the flaws, the alcoholic, her recovering addiction from alcoholism. But what I liked about Carlos was it's fascinating because these are ideas which are I think quite popular in the cyberpunk genre. This whole idea of like you can still have an afterlife in the future.
Yep. A ghost in the shell.
And I think like what I appreciated was I understand that they may not have like shown his backstory, but you do feel the character's conflict. And his conflict is that, even though he's a robot now, he's an android, but you can still see the pain he feels as a human. And that scene where felt as a human, but that scene where he goes and attempts to meet his daughter and encounters his wife is a crushing scene, because his wife obviously rejects the whole idea of him, because he's just not human. Now, we're not given the information between what happened to them. That is, again, left open for interpretation, why they may have fallen out. But you know that she sort of moved on and has another partner, and he's not been very successful in being able to see his daughter for the past 5 years. And the scene where he brings her flowers from Earth, and that's just like basically rejected straight out of his face. I thought that was a very symbolic moment for his character, and how that he's basically lost any, that was like the last human thing he had, was that connection with his family. And I want to highlight that scene because there's one shot once he's rejected and he's walking away. You can see his face, which is a hologram, and you can see he's anguished. And through that hologram, which is transparent, you can see his wife and her new partner together, like basically side by side. And I think like there's a term in French cinema called mise en scène. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we're talking about a French film, but mise en scène is something which is the presentation of a scene, or the staging of a scene. And I think that shot of his face and the hologram, and you see the thing that's bothering him right through his face, was again a very symbolic direction that uses the scene, that uses the visuals and the presentation of its staging of the characters in a way that conveys effectively what it's about, what the character is going through. And I was okay with that. Like, even though I know that the characterization suffers from a lack of development, but it's things like that through subtext which really make up for it, for me at least. But I do agree that, it may not necessarily work throughout. Like, I think Aline's not as well fleshed out as a character as Carlos, because she's not really likable in a way, but like there's no connection for the audience with her character. She's kind of cold. She's kind of, deducing. She's struggling from alcoholism. And I guess like her only connection is Carlos. Like, I think the only time I see her really have like a genuine connection is when she's like with him and he's like her partner in a way. But what did you think about it?
Sure. I also watched that scene. I did like the flowers breaking. I did like that as like symbolic. Hey, you're out of our life. Stay away. You're only gonna mess up the kid. You're just gonna make it worse. There's like a lot of like tropes that Mars Express has that I believe and I feel that have been better done in other mediums. Like you talked about some other ones like Blade Runner and I can't exactly remember, but my examples are like The Matrix, like Her, like Deus Ex Machina, like Westworld, Altered Carbon. There's a lot of these like tropes that I've seen in these mediums in the cyberpunk genre that I just feel like have done just a lot better characters, a lot better like CGI, a lot better like everything. There's like some things that are lost in animation, but there's some things that you can do a lot better in animation because like the technology isn't quite there in 3D. and I feel like they like left like a lot of that out. Like,
But I feel like
they're
converting this into, say, a live action would have been way more difficult than they.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, what even the technology would have to do for like the heads, that would be like bizarre.
Yeah, it could look goofy.
Yeah, no, it for sure would. Like, it would be a straight up B movie. And I didn't know you knew French. That's very interesting, Adi.
I don't know French, but that was a
Okay.
term I learned in uni when I was studying film and TV. And I remember there was a tutor who spoke about this term, and he hated it, by the way, because he's not a traditional avant-garde French film lover. He's,
I know all the English words that
Yeah.
are technically French.
Yeah, but he mentioned it because it was basically it was important in terms of understanding simple forms of storytelling and how you can convey, how you can pack a scene. A single shot needs to pack in as much story as possible, and that is successful storytelling, right? Like some scenes don't necessarily achieve that, but the attempt to do that is what makes mise en scène effective. And it goes back towards, I guess, the presentation of staging a scene in a play, where you have foregrounds and backgrounds, and you have depth of space, and you use things like converging lines or focal points to basically highlight what you're trying to get across and convey to the audience. But yeah, I just felt like this film is very subtextual. It's not very contextual. And I think maybe that's where it struggles, because you don't really have the information to gauge what's happening, because there's so much to go through. You've got like...
All right. I have to pause the screen to read what's going on.
That, and also, obviously, like, you're reading subtitles, right? So you got to pay
Right.
attention to that. You got to pay attention to what's been said. I guess there is a dubbed version. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even want to watch that. That
Nah.
sounds terrifying.
No, I wouldn't either. I think you'd sort of lose the true effect of like the performance, even though realistically there aren't any star recognizable voice actors in the French cast, apart from maybe there's one French actor called Mathieu Almeric, who people may...
Oh, I wanted him to have a really French name just to hear you pronounce it.
I think it is French. It is Mathieu. Again, I may be ruining
I like
this,
that.
but you may recognize
That's okay.
him.
That's okay.
You may
When
recognize
we do the next
him.
one, I'm gonna butcher all the Korean names. It'll be great.
No. But you may recognize him from some of the Wes Anderson films. It's very distinctive. He's got a very distinctive face with intense eyes, and he played the villain in the Bond movie Quantum of Solace. So,
Imagine I watched that.
he plays Roy Jacker, who's like the main
Okay.
the main antagonist behind.
Well, I did like him. Being the sleazeball he was.
Yeah. But I mean, just to touch on the point where there's so much being said. I mean, there's robots being jailbroken. There's robots who are being protested against. There's development of an organic AI, which I thought was pretty freaky, and the whole plan to replace the robots with that. And you got humans uploading their consciousness. That's obviously Carlos. And you've got humans cloning themselves, as seen in the scene where they try to get the college student who gets killed, but then they realize that she cloned herself synthetically.
They go to a brothel.
Yeah, they go to a brothel, which is, I guess, like a weird-looking nightclub, and turns
Everyone's
out,
got numbers on their chest.
yeah. And again, all these things are tossed at you. Like, these are concepts which normally a film would at least try to explain or set up, but this is like, you're expected to know, all right, this is how it is. the world works
Is there
like
like a
that.
TV show of like the same name that we just didn't watch?
There isn't a TV show, but I may be mistaken, but I think there is a bit of a prequel, which is in a sort of comic book form. But again, not a lot of people know about this, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, because, like you said, there's a lot of films that have done this better, that have explored the tropes better, but it's refreshing to pick on something that's virtually not heard of as much. Like, you can try going on YouTube, you're not going to find a lot on this film. Not a lot of people know about this film, apart from the critics who've written about it.
Right. And anybody that went to Cannes.
There's some forums online that obviously are big hardcore fans of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I was reading the IMDb reviews, and it seemed like some bots were doing the reviews, and then like one guy that really hated the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a bunch of like. So like the first like 5, 6, 7 reviews were talking about how it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, 10 out of 10. And then right after that, there's this scathing review that someone gave a 1 out of 10 and said, this movie does nothing right. And I'm like, you have to have really hated this movie to have done that. And you must really like Transformers or something, because this definitely wasn't for you. There are.
I don't think it was that bad. I
don't think it was either. Like,
there's
some things that pissed me off, like clearly, but not like I'm not digging it through the dirt or anything. But then a lot of the other reviews were very it was all right.
Yeah, I guess it can be polarizing in a way, and I guess a lot of people may have mixed feelings about the ending. I know you clearly pointed that out when we first got around to it. But I wanted to talk about like the whole aspect of agency, and how like I was trying to like understand this thematically and see if there's like a way I could really wrap it up into like what are the ideas this film is trying to explore. And I felt like the only thing I could think of was agency and the fight for agency. Like if you look at Aline, you know, she's clearly alcoholic, but there's things like wherever she goes, liquor bottles and bars or like mini fridges lock themselves in the presence of someone who is sober, registered sober like her. And that's a mechanism.
I did like that. I wish we had that in our reality.
Yeah, and that's a mechanism that puts in question like how much agency someone has in this world, you know. And you look at like the humans who want to get rid of the robots. The opening scene, I think, like the second scene, shows like there's a massive protest going on in Earth, where the robot,
they're probably stealing their jobs.
Everything, yeah. And then you've got the very interesting twist at the end where the robots kind of want to leave, and there's that robot by Roy Jacker who gets replaced by the organic AI creature. I think the robot's called Beryl. And it turns out she's orchestrating this whole thing to get them.
Oh, I didn't even quite understand that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. See,
that's how confused I was towards the ending. I was like, why?
I want to make that very clear. This is a film you need to rewatch to really pick up on it. I guess like casual viewers may necessarily be content with not really looking too much into it. But yeah, I do think this is a film that rewards you when you rewatch it, because there's just so much. There's definitely things I picked up which I didn't expect, like the missing girl, the college girl who accidentally jailbreaks the robot coding in university. turns out her father in the earlier scenes was not actually human. It was a synthetic form sent by Roy Jacker. It was only until they're at the funeral where she realizes, because this guy looks, the father looks way shorter. There's that scene where she questions him, were you in the military? Because you clicked your heels. And he's like, no, I'm not. So, there's things like that which I picked up.
Subtext.
Which I necessarily didn't in the first viewing. But I guess it's difficult. I don't know. Maybe it's not an easy film in terms of access. But
it might be on Netflix. I don't know. I don't have Netflix.
It's not. I don't think it is.
It's hella
I don't
awkward.
think it is.
Yeah, I had to jump through hoops to watch this, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sway my rating or anything, though.
What did you think of the action in the film? Because surprisingly, even though how it's kind of philosophical in its ideas, but there's some pretty intricate.
I liked a lot of the animation and the action. Like it didn't like jerk me out of it when I saw the action. It didn't seem like they didn't know what they were doing. I liked a lot of the action. There's a lot of bang 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 and people jumping out of windows. Like I was hooked in for that. I was definitely like I play a lot of video games and a lot of Cyberpunk and a lot of all that, so I'm completely jacked in when they're doing the action stuff. I felt like that was a big strong part of it. Like towards the end of the movie with that gigantic biological robot thing with that shoots the spikes. Like I thought that scene was really intense. Like it was very cool. And then he's like and Carlos is like shooting guns in the air to land bullets on people. Like I liked a lot of that. Like I thought a lot of that worked for me.
Yeah, those scenes were really cool. He's got insane speed. The way he runs.
Yeah, he's super robot. He's jailbroken.
And
he can't be updated. Bum, bum, bum. I did like how that came back. Because of how old of a model he was, he didn't become a slave to the AI.
Yeah. Yeah. That was... And that goes to that whole scene where, he ends up like telling them, like, don't do this. Like, you're dooming yourself by going into the space.
You're committing suicide.
Yeah. You're going to fry your... the rays are going to fry you from radiation.
The second you get out of space.
Exactly. And they're like convinced that they're going to colonize a new planet and like start a robotic civilization elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But the interesting choice is he decides to go. He doesn't resist, which again is an interesting choice. Obviously, Aline gets killed at the end. What did you think of that? That's a big character moment.
Oh, I was whatever. That ending scene of them all going into the ship pissed me off. I felt like it was the ending of this movie. I felt like it was like a big wet fart. It was like you had a lot going for it. You had a robotic revolution. You had and then the robots all commit suicide. You're just like, oh my god. Apparently, allegedly, it's in the subtext that they like hacked the robots to make them think they wanted to do that, so Roy Jacker could replace them all with those biological machines.
Yeah, so the robots, the program which goes live, the software that goes live and basically hacks them, has a secret code that not just jailbreaks them, but also commands them to leave Earth or leave Mars permanently.
Wherever they're at. I didn't pay enough attention to find that out.
Right. Well, that was what happens. And then, but I guess the confusing thing is you get Roy Jacker's robot show up and be like, yeah, like, we want to leave. Like, this is our choice. We want to get, we don't see it as them getting rid of us. We see this as us getting rid of humans. Which,
like, maybe it was too smart that it just sounded stupid to me.
Right. I could see that. I could see why you.
Yeah,
think
like
that.
maybe I overthought it and for what it was, and maybe that's how it came out. But if a layman that doesn't watch anime, doesn't watch movies,
But you can't really call this an anime, though, can you? Doesn't
It's a French animation, so it's a F anime. As a Korean anime, it can be a K anime. This is an F anime, which sounds bad. I would just call it French animation. I don't know. It might have been a Korean studio. Who knows?
No, it wasn't a Korean studio, but
okay, it wasn't. Okay.
No, it wasn't.
Because I know like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original cartoon, like a lot of that was like animated in Korea.
Oh,
like
was it? Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm just like, is it technically anime? No.
No,
Anime is always
confirm.
Animated by a Japanese studio.
No, I can confirm this is and purely French animated. In fact, one of the reasons why people were talking about this is because French animation is not really much of a thing.
Okay.
Like, they haven't really had any success with French animation.
Yeah,
So
like
for
the only
this,
thing I can think of is like some like cartoons from like the early 2000s that made it to America that were technically French animations.
Exactly. So I don't know. I guess it's novel in a way, but I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one to talk about. I don't know much about French movies, like animation movies in France, so I probably couldn't comment on that too well. But
right, where the robots were trying to commit a coup d'état, but instead they got hacked.
Yeah,
we'll just put more French words in there that are used in English vernacular, so our English-speaking audience understands.
Yeah.
I hope that Joker movie, that sequel, I hope that's all in French.
Gosh, I wonder.
The French title just has English subtitles.
It's got me confused.
Comic book nerds are like, "What the hell is this?" When in a movie, I wanted to see a Joker shoot somebody, and all I got was a bunch of French gay guys.
Speaking French. Oh Lord! And then they show Batman popping up talking full French.
Oh, that'd be awesome. and he does like a French, like deep, boom, boom, boom. Sorry, I don't know French.
Yeah, I'm not gonna attempt to.
Bonjour.
That's pretty good, to be fair. That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
I don't know any French speakers. The closest we get is French Canadian.
Was the language hard for you to like? You're used to more. You watch a lot more anime.
Yeah,
so
I watch a lot of Japanese animation. I'm a fast reader for subtitles. So I don't have a problem there because I can pay attention and read ahead. And since French is a Latin-based language, there are some words that almost sound close enough to English that I didn't have to read the subtitles. Or if they say like "chow" or something, like I know what that means.
That's
like
Italian.
When he's like hopping into the in the pool, he goes "chow," and I'm like, okay, I know what that meant. I didn't need.
Yeah, but that's very basic level.
Exactly.
Very universal. Very universal.
Right. If they started talking about resume, if they started talking, there's a lot of words that are French that are spoken in English that you wouldn't even know. Like RSVP, there's like a French word for it. Yeah. There's no English translation.
Yeah, it's a French term. RSVP.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast about this, and they listed like 40 words that were French words that we just naturally use in the English language, just like whatever. We owned it. It is what it is.
Yeah. Did you have anything to say about the dialogues or the script?
So my issue was the characters. Like that, if that for the script wise, if you would have delved a lot more into that, like I didn't feel like this, other than the ending and that character stuff. Like the script was fine. It like leaves a lot much to be desired, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Did you have any problems with the script?
Like I said earlier, I think it's a script that heavily relies on subtext, so a lot of it is open to interpretation, and I feel like it probably could have been a bit longer, but at the same time, right. I don't know how I would feel about it if it was longer, just, like, because the pacing is great.
30 minutes of like French techno music, and they're like just hanging out in a nightclub.
That would be cool. I wouldn't mind watching that.
Just like cool vibes.
Cool vibes, but there were a lot of scenes I liked. I liked the cars, the guns looked cool. The whole scene where they get attacked in a highway. I really liked the way.
With the airbag system. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, a lot of things like that, which very subtle detail in the way they've shown these scenes. Things, whether they're like getting things done or they're going somewhere, and you got like, they've done quite clearly they've done their job with world building, but I guess maybe the obsession on that is a bit too much, and the emphasis on the plot is less. Do you think the plot could have been simpler?
Like you said, I definitely agree. I felt like they spent a lot too much time trying to create a world and not to create a plot you can follow with characters you care about. Like character deaths. Okay. So I'm a big crybaby when it comes to movies with character deaths. I didn't feel anything when Adeline dies. I didn't feel anything when... obviously, I don't feel anything when the robots die because they're robots. Unless, like, the movie makes me care about a robot dying. It's...
I guess that's the whole question that it's trying to ask.
If there's a possibility that you can be duplicated in another body, your brain gets downloaded to the interwebs. Like, it kind of, like, kills the
impact.
It gives you, like, super plot armor. Can you duplicate a duplicate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't think about that. What if he could back himself up again?
And then rich people, do they just duplicate themselves for the rest of their lives?
And how do they duplicate themselves?
Exactly.
Synthetically, android, cloning.
Right.
Like the cops that are after them to kill them, those are like synthetic. So...
right.
And then you've got this whole thing with brain farming, right? The whole plot relies on...
It's kind of like Bitcoin in a way, like Bitcoin mining.
So essentially, it's like he steals the hacker's code, which is the code that she's developing to jailbreak robots. But he steals that because he wants to get rid of the robots so that he can profit out of getting organic AI to take over instead of robots. But I guess the whole plot revolves under this whole story where he needs to still finish the code, and he outsources it to a brain farm, which is like people farming out their brains for this company to finish the code. And that's how this student who ends up taking a memory drug remembers, even though the whole idea of going to a brain farm will erase your short-term. Yeah. So you kind of see how convoluted this sounds talking about
it sounds so kind of... It's like it's almost like M. Night Shyamalan was like the script doctor, and he like doctored it up, but he didn't give it like that crazy twist at the end where you're like, "What a twist!"
Yeah, no,
it was just
doesn't. It doesn't
like a train derailing like twist. Like it was just like okay.
Yeah, well, what would you have preferred? the ending to be?
Okay, I would have preferred a robot uprising, all the humans being killed, and then like the last like scene of the movie, just like a robot like with the head of a human, just like over a bunch of corpses. Like that would have been a metal as fuck ending.
Well, isn't that predictable? Haven't we seen?
Sure. But I love that shit.
All right,
but I don't know. The French probably wouldn't do that.
You enjoy human misery.
Sure, misery porn's fun.
All right.
Just like, so ask Quentin Tarantino. He had an interview a long time ago where they were just like, why do you have so much violence in your movies, Quentin? And he's like, I just think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. I remember that. Could you imagine what his Star Trek film would have been like? He was rumored to do a Star Trek, which never happened.
Oh my god.
Or was he signed on?
The most like art house Star Trek film like ever made.
I think it would be batshit crazy.
Oh no, for sure it would. He would have like aliens chopping each other's heads off and the Borg coming out or something, or I don't know.
I think it would be like even more like next level.
Like more, so anything that we could imagine, I'm sure he would have done like 10 times that.
Exactly. But he's not doing it. Nobody knows what he's going to do next.
He's been spinning the wheels on that for a while. We'll see. It's a wait and see.
Yeah, I do feel like the Star Trek...
He'll probably be like Martin Scorsese, say he's about to retire with his last movie and then come out of retirement to make another one.
I don't think Scorsese ever said he was going to retire.
Oh, one of those older directors. I can't remember exactly who, but they said they were going to retire and then they came back.
Yeah, I can't
like maybe
remember.
Lucas comes back, just like, all right, I'm doing Star Wars. I know I sold it.
I don't think he can.
Probably not. They hire him to do it.
He took the paycheck.
He did. He definitely did. He's like, I sold Star Wars to the Disney slavers.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can go to final thoughts.
Sure.
Do you want to give it a rating?
Yeah. So I had to think about this for a bit. There's some things I like about this movie. And I've been hemming and hawing a little bit. But I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. There are some things I like about this movie. The animation. I like the world design. I like a lot of that stuff. I like a lot of that. The general feel of it. It definitely made me more interested in more films by this director. Whether they be animation or live action. Try to check out their filmography. I'm not necessarily somebody that's sought out French films. So this could definitely be a good gateway into that. What do you think?
No, cool. I would like to give it a 7 out of 10, and I watched it twice, and I got to admit, when I saw it the first time, I didn't quite pick up on things as much. The thing that I probably noticed the most was the things you mentioned, which was the character design, the world building, the way the animation feels, just details here and there. But I did not really get a hang of the plot. But upon watching it again, I feel like this is something that rewards you on a rewatch. So while I understand this is not necessarily, it is, come on, at the end of the day, it is a bit of an art house French animated film, which very much feels like an adult, like meant for adults to watch in terms of like the ideas it's trying to explore. Although all those tropes may be explored and familiar or been done in a better way through other projects, which we've all known. But I still would like to appreciate it for its attempt, because it's still a lot better than a lot of the commercial shit we get to see, like Netflix and all these other stuff that gets churned out from familiar corporate IP. I think I can still appreciate the artistic effort to do something original. And this film is a film that relies a lot on subtext, and I still prefer stories that have subtext over spoon feeding you with information you don't need to know. Too many films we see today are constantly throwing things at your face, hamming it in, and it kind of takes the viewer for granted in a way. Like, I'd rather see you fail, but try to give your viewer the benefit of the doubt in understanding your vision than trying to like ham it in over and over again while trying to show your film. Because that's going to put me off. I'm not going to enjoy that. I don't want to see a story where they're constantly telling me things. I'm okay to gauge and figure things out on my own. And I do think the fact that it may have an inkling where it encourages you to rewatch it and then you pick up something, I think that's a good thing. And I think, there's quite clearly an effort put into it. I do agree the ending is very open-ended. Some people may not like the ending. But I think I'd rather watch something that incites a reaction than something that makes you go, oh, cool, they just ended it the way it had to end. The good guys won, the bad guys won. Lost. The bad guys lost, the good guys won. Over here, you don't really know because the humans got what they wanted. The robots apparently got what they wanted. So who are you siding with? You kind of feel empty and lost at the end of this film. And I think that's kind of the effect it's going for. And that's the reason why characterization may not be its strongest suit. This is a very concept-driven film. But I can appreciate it for what it is. Not a lot of people know about this film, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this compared to, say, talking about a Star Wars film that a million podcasts may have already done so. So,
all right. So we're doing Star Wars next. Sounds good. All right.
Oh, God. But yeah, that's my final thought. I can appreciate it, but yeah, it has its flaws, but it's a very subtext-driven film, and I can appreciate the animation a lot. But some of its plotting is convoluted, and I'm not sure the ideas are always come across in a succinct way. But yeah, that's my final thought. I'd still recommend this film if you're interested in the cyberpunk or sci-fi
If
genre.
I get a weird inkling, I might rewatch it. We'll see.
All right.
I'll report back to you, Adi. I'll let you know.
Let me know. For the next episode, what are we going to talk about? Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah. All right. So the Korean film 2003, Old Boy. That is my recommendation. Not to be confused by 2013 Old Boy. Do not watch
starring Josh
film.
Brolin.
Yeah, don't watch Thanos get snapped away. No, so Old Boy 2003. So general, non-spoiler synopsis. After being kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years, Oh Dae-soo is released only to find out he must track down his captor in 5 days. Yeah, so this is a wild movie. I would definitely recommend everyone to watch it. If you don't want to get spoiled to all hell, then next time we upload, probably in a week or two, you should watch Old Boy 2003.
Sounds cool. I've never seen this film, so I know it's up there in pop culture and probably one of the most iconic and famous Korean films. But I look forward to
Parasite.
watching it. Along with Parasite, of course. But I guess Parasite was more of a universal success.
Yep.
This feels like a cult success, like a cult classic.
Success for sure, yeah. I liked watching this movie. You show it to people that have never seen it before, and they're like, what the hell am I watching? I have to read subtitles? And I'm like, yes, you do. And it's great.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll catch you for the next episode covering Old Boy from 2003. 2020. I don't know why I said 2003. So many stories are set in the future. It's like
no, the last story was 2020-03 or something.
It was like 2200.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in.